All right, let's get right into it. We are standing at the edge of a totally new way of writing. And yeah, it's all because of AI. Now, this isn't something to be scared of, but it is something we absolutely need to understand and, maybe more importantly, learn how to work with. So that's what we're going to do here. Look at how to navigate this new world and turn what feels like a crisis into a huge, huge creative opportunity.
And that quote from David Perel, it just hits the nail on the head, right? When this tech first really blew up, a lot of writers, and I'll include myself here, felt this, pit in their stomach, kind of like an existential crisis. A skill you've spent years, maybe decades, honing suddenly feels, well, vulnerable. But that anxiety, it's also mixed with a ton of excitement. And that's the sweet spot we're going to explore, how we move from that fear to, collaboration.
So, to really get a grip on this shift, we first have to appreciate just how unbelievably fast this all happened. I mean, it really does feel like it happened overnight because, well, it kind of did.
I mean, check this out. This stat really puts the speed into perspective. David Perel, who runs a massive writing school, said that just 6 months ago, AI was like a tiny little footnote in his curriculum, less than 10%. Now, he says it would be the linchpin, the absolute center of everything. That's how fast the ground is moving under our feet.
And this timeline just lays it all out. Just a few years back, in late 2020, we were in what Pearl calls the dinosaur age with GPT-3. Then boom, a massive leap with GPT-4 in 2023. And in the last year alone, more than 18 different companies have built models that are just as good or even better. So the point here isn't about any single company. It's about the fact that this technology is just exploding everywhere all at once. It's a full-on revolution, and we're all living right in the middle of it. So all that speed and change brings us to the most important idea in this whole thing. We have to reframe how we think about AI. It's not a replacement, it's a collaborator. And that mental shift, it's everything.
Okay, so this is the crucial distinction you have to get. AI writes for you is the lazy way. That's how you get generic, totally soulless text. It's the reason we're seeing all that AI slop online. But AI writes with you? Now that is a whole different ballgame. It becomes your thinking partner, right? A creative collaborator that actually boosts your own abilities, making you faster, smarter, and way more creative.
And, nobody gets this writing with AI mindset better than the economist Tyler Cowen. He doesn't ask it to write for him, he calls it his new secondary literature. Think about that. It's a tool he uses to read, to prep, and to think way more deeply on basically any topic, whether it's Shakespeare or some complex economic theory. It's an active, engaged process. So, what does that actually look like in the real world? Well, when he's prepping for a podcast, instead of trying to read like 30 books, he'll read a couple of them and then spend hours just interrogating the AI about the subject. He gets all the context way faster. He'll ask it for different takes on Shakespeare, get background on complicated legal stuff he doesn't know. And this is the best part. He finds those amazing out-of-left-field questions by digging into super specific details. He's not asking, give me 10 questions for my podcast. No way. He's asking it to analyze some tiny detail and then suggest a totally contrarian viewpoint. See the difference?
Okay, so that's the mindset. Now let's get into the really fun part, the practical playbook, the actual tactics you can start using like today to think and write better with your new AI partner.
The biggest mistake almost everyone makes is treating that prompt window like they're sending a text message. Don't ask these broad, kind of meh questions. You got to be specific. Dig into the details. And for your very first prompt, give it a ton of context. Seriously, use voice dictation on your phone for a minute or two and just talk, explaining exactly what you're looking for. Then you can use those short follow-up questions to iterate and really drill down deep.
And listen, not all AIs are created equal. Tyler Cowen says you should have a toolkit, like different models with their own personalities. So GPT-4 Pro, that's your workhorse, the best for reasoning and complex analysis. Claude is the best pure writer. It's more thoughtful, more philosophical. And then you've got DeepSeek, which is the free spirit. So a little less reliable, but it's fantastic for creative, emotional, and sometimes just plain wacky ideas. His point is, you can't see the revolution if you're not using the best tools. This is where the magic is happening. Now this might be one of the most powerful uses of all. Think of it as an instant, totally objective editor who's on call 24/7. Cowan shared this brilliant story where he asked an AI, what in here is obnoxious? And the AI actually pointed out a section where he was being condescending. And it was totally right. Getting that kind of immediate, blunt feedback is just incredibly valuable for making your own work better.
Which brings us to the big one, right? The question that causes all the anxiety. In a world where AI can write this well, how do we stay valuable? What is our uniquely human edge?
So, this framework from David Perel is absolutely crucial. Your defense as a writer comes down to these two E's. First, your experience, the stories, the feelings, the observations that come from your one-of-a-kind life. And second, your expertise, that deep knowledge you've earned, and just as important, your spiky point of view on a topic. That's your unique, maybe even controversial take that an AI, which is trained on the average of everything, it just can't generate that.
And that's really what it all boils down to, isn't it? It's as simple as that. An AI can mimic emotion, sure, but it can't actually feel it. It doesn't have a life, it doesn't have relationships, and it has never ever lived through pain or joy.
To show you the power of experience, Perel shared these stories from when he was growing up in San Francisco. If you asked an AI to write about the city's problems, it would spit out statistics. It would not tell you about the visceral fear of your mom coming home covered in blood, or that sad, normal feeling of seeing shattered car windows again, or the strange innocence of picking up a used syringe as a kid. Those are your stories. That is what connects with another person on a truly human level.
And this gets right to the heart of expertise. The goal is not to write perfect, smooth, boring prose like a machine. It's to have a distinct voice, to be a weirdo, as Cowan says. Your unique perspective, your quirky way of putting sentences together, your hard-won insights, that is what makes your writing yours. That's the part you protect. That's the part you never let an AI smooth out.
So, where does all this leave us? What does the future of writing actually look like? Well, I can tell you this. It is not the end. It's the beginning of a completely new era of creativity.
So you have to wonder, what's our future with writing AI going to be like? There are two great analogies here. Is it going to be like chess, where we still celebrate human grandmasters, even though we all know computers are technically perfect? Or, and this is more likely, is it going to be like music sampling? I mean, at first, sampling was super controversial. People called it cheating. Now, it's a completely normal tool. When you hear an amazing song, you don't care if it has samples, you just care that it's good. The bet is that writing is heading exactly in that direction. In 10 years, the only thing that's going to matter is how good the final piece is, not how you made it. So the final thought here is this. Stop thinking of AI as a threat and start seeing it as a new instrument. It's just like the sampler was for music producers back in the 80s, a powerful, game-changing new tool for creativity. The question isn't if you should use it anymore. The question is how you're going to use it to create something new, something powerful, something only you can make. The tool is in your hands.